Welcome to HeritageQuest Helper Part 1. In this video, we'll learn how to access HeritageQuest online, and we'll learn about searching U.S. Census records. HeritageQuest Online is a genealogy database subscribed to by the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. It's a database that is accessible from any one of our locations or from home if you have a valid Buffalo and Erie County Public Library card. To access the database, you go to the library's website, buffalolib.org. Then you click on Research and Resources, and then you click Databases A to Z. I've already input my library card number to access it from home, but if you're trying to access it, right up in this area below where it says Databases from A till Z, that is where you'll input your library card number. Once you do that, then you'll be able to get into our databases. You scroll down to where it says Categories and choose Genealogy. Here's the list of all of our genealogy databases. Select HeritageQuest Online. And now we're at the home page of the database. From here we can select different databases within HeritageQuest. The first one that we'll look at are census records. We scroll down a little bit from the home page. You'll see U.S. Census records. The U.S. started taking census records in 1790, and they were taken every 10 years all the way up until today. There's a 72-year waiting period before we have access to census records for genealogy research. So right now we have available through the year 1940. In 2022, we'll have access to the 1950 census. One thing you'll want to know is that most of the 1890 census was burned in a fire. Only 1% for the entire country survived. Nothing survived for Western New York. To search the census, we could choose a particular census year. We could also choose View All. For our search, I'm going to start with the 1930 census. When you're searching the census, you can put as much or as little information as you know about the person that you're researching. Good data to start with is a name. Here we're searching for George Whitall. A year of birth, or approximate year of birth. Here, 1853. The location of birth. Input usually either a country or a state. So he was born in England. And then if you know the town that he lived in 1930, that's the best information to put. If not, put in the county or the state. So he lived in Akron in Erie County. So I input that data. Other information that you could put in are family member names. These would be people that are living in the household with him. So if you know in this time frame he was living alone, you don't need to bother with this. You could also put in keywords like a street name that he lived on. You could choose his gender if you wanted to. I'm just going to stick with this information and then click search. We got 120 hits. And if I were to scroll, I don't see him in the first hits, though you should look through every page. So if you don't find a person in the search, you could try different ways to edit your search. So let's say I want to edit and I want to make it exact to the county. Could try that and see what happens. I still don't see him listed. This time I only have 3 hits. Another trick that I like to try is to just put in a first name. So I'm going to take out the Whitall, and I'm going to leave the rest of the criteria the same and try search. When I look at these results, I look them all over, there's one that stands out to me near the top. I see this George Witte that lives in Newstead. Akron is in the town of Newstead. It says, he was born about 1854 in England, so that looks really close. So I'm going to look at this, click View Record, and you can see some of the transcribed information. He was widowed. It says he lived at 41 Bloomingdale. He owned his home. This says something odd, but I know he was a blacksmith. His occupation was blacksmith. Sometimes it's hard to read the handwriting on the census records, so transcriptions might not be exactly right. So let's view this record, because some of it seems to line up with our George. Ancestry will highlight the person that you're looking for. You can zoom in. And what happened is there's an undotted I, and it says A, and they only put one L on the name, and it's really tiny. So the transcriber thought that was Witte, but I do know this from a city directory that this is the address that George lived at. So this is the George we're looking for, and it's just poor handwriting as to why it wasn't indexed like that. We're back at the HeritageQuest homepage, and I wanted to show you a little more detail about the census records that are available in HeritageQuest. I already mentioned that we have from 1790 through 1940 of the U.S. federal census. You can also see that Canadian census records are in here as well, from 1861 through 1921, every 10 years. To see more detail about U.S. Census records, if we click View All, this is a search box where you could search all of the census records, but you can also see a list of everything that's in here. And there are some extras. Besides the 1790 through 1940, there were some special censuses taken. For example, in 1850 and 1860, there were the U.S. federal census schedules of the enslaved. So I'm going to click on 1860. The names that you would search in the schedules of the enslaved, unfortunately, are not the enslaved. Only the slave holders were named in these schedules. So if you happen to know a slaveholder's name, you could search for them. You could try the last name of the person who you're searching who was enslaved. Maybe they took the slaveholder's surname. And then you could put it with a location, say the location that they lived soon after slavery ended. So I'm just going to try a last name here. So I searched for the last name in Glynn County, Georgia. I'm going to search just to see what comes up. Here's a William M. Hazard. I'm going to choose that so we can see what one looks like. And if you click View, you can see the schedule. Here is William M. Hazard, so that's the slaveholder's name. And then the enslaved are listed by age. Here are the ages, by gender, male and female, and then by color. So you'll see black or you'll see M for mulatto. Other details that you might see are if one of the enslaved was a fugitive, if they ran away, you might see a check in this box. If one of these individuals was manumitted or set free, you might see a check. If they had certain health concerns, if they couldn't hear or talk, if they were blind, if they might have had mental health issues, that might be listed. Also, if there were certain number of slave houses on the property, that would be listed also. So we're back at the list of the different censuses that are in this database. Something else you'll want to note is the 1890 Veterans Schedule. So if your ancestor was a veteran of the Civil War, they should be listed here. These schedules are not supposed to list Confederates. It's just supposed to be Union soldiers and their widows, but sometimes Confederates were listed. Other things that you'll see are mortality schedules. So these were taken between 1850 and 1885, every 10 years for the most part. And these would be people who died within the year before the census was taken. I'm just going to do a simple search for John Smith and look at an example. If you view the record, you'll see the different details listed here. It gives the estimated birth year, the birthplace, the age when the person passed away, the date of death, the cause of death, and then the census location. You can view the schedule and see all that data written out. If you have enslaved persons in your family history, this is one place where the enslaved would be named. So you would see the name of the enslaved, and oftentimes you would see the slaveholder too. Back to our list of census data. Another important one to note is the non-population schedules, which would include if your ancestor was a farmer, there would be information about the farm, like what types of crops were grown, what types of animals were on the farm. Also, if your ancestor owned a business, there would be business data, what type of business, what type of products they produced. And then there is a number of American Indian census rolls. So the census rolls of Native Americans. They covered approximately 1885 through 1940. These may have been taken as often as yearly, but they weren't taken necessarily every year. So you can search as much or as little data as you want. I'm going to put the last name Jimerson, and I'm going to put a location in. I'm going to put Cattaraugus County, New York, and make it exact to Cattaraugus, and click search. And I'm going to choose our first hit, George Jimerson. Click view. They're not quite as detailed as other census schedules, but they can include very helpful information. This one is from 1903. So you can see it would include an English name, other people in the household with the individual, includes gender, relationship to head of household, age. It may include the Native American name, so that could be an important detail. Thank you for joining us for searching the U.S. Federal Census Collection with HeritageQuest Online.